this is Anna Runyon from ClassyCareerGirl.com, and today in my networking challenge, I'm speaking with Patricia Ryan Madsen, who's the author of Improv Wisdom, Don't Prepare, Just Show Up, and she's been teaching students how to improvise for 20 years at Stanford University. So thanks so much for being here, Patricia.
Thank you, Anna. It's nice to join your show.
Yes, I'm excited to learn how to improvise, but I want to give you one little bit of information about me. I'm a planner. I'm an introvert, so I like to plan out things ahead of time and think about what I'm going to say. So I'm curious what you have to say of why someone like me needs to learn how to improvise to have a satisfying life.
Well, it's great. I think I'm not against planning. In fact, I'm a planner too, even though I'm an improv teacher. And if you'll look around my office, you'll see all kinds of lists, and my mind naturally plans. I think that's what humans do. So I'm not... Planning isn't the problem. I see the problem as letting that planning get in the way of when you have to do something, actually opening your eyes and kind of stepping up to the moment. Okay. So, for example, a presenter can prepare and prepare and prepare, but when they finally step up in front of an audience or in front of an interview, when some real human is there, it's so much more valuable to, if you will, ingest that planning, just let it be part of you, and then speak naturally and see what comes up, rather than trying to give prepared answers. I think that's one of the things that may be less desirable in an interview. If you prep and prep and prep for an interview, and you've got your set answer memorized and prepared of what are my goals in life or something like that. It's good to think about these things, but when you're actually talking to someone, using your natural capacity to put words together, even if they're not perfect, to me shows someone that you're human and natural, rather than a perfectly sculpted, carefully prepared actress with all of the right answers. We all like to look good. But I think that for planners, improv is even a more valuable skill, because it'll help you trust your own voice in situations where you don't have that plan.
Okay. Yeah, I love that you brought interviews up. I didn't even think about that, but that's a great opportunity to learn how to, or to be able to improvise and not have a script ready to go. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I think an interview is a perfect example of when the company, the interviewer, is looking to notice how you handle reality. And another word for improvisation is the real world, things coming one after another. And our best shot, improvising, by the way, is not about comedy or having funny responses, even though improvisation is also a form of comedy theater. Mm-hmm. But the way I've taught it for a long time at Stanford to adults and professionals and folks in the high-tech world is helping them redirect their attention right now to what's happening, to listening to your question, to watching the expressions on your face, to noticing really what's going on, so I can allow my natural improv impulse to come through. And maybe that isn't perfect. Just now I screwed up my words a little bit. But I don't mind, because I think it's more important to think on my feet and be natural than to have it all really smooth. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's such a good point, because I think we're always trying to be perfect and have perfect presentations and perfect interview responses, but it's good to know you can make mistakes.
Absolutely. And in fact, I think you're valued if you're able to make a mistake and kind of work through it, rather than, oh no, I didn't do that right, excuse me, or in some way seeing a mistake as a character flaw. I'm convinced that we admire people who have mistakes and as part of their natural way of presenting. They seem more human than the really smooth, perfected. I don't sometimes trust those people whose speech is flawless and careful. Mm-hmm. In fact, we all know politicians who, no matter what question you ask them, they give their pat answer, and that's an example of what I'm trying to help people avoid. Okay. I'd like for you to really listen to the question and allow your own natural mind and your experience to answer that question not your prepared routine.
Okay.
And the tools of improv are pretty simple. They're obvious things like really, really listening. And we tend to listen with part of our mind, listening to think about what I'm going to say next. Mm-hmm. In fact, there's a great study. If we went around a room sitting in a circle and each person has to introduce themselves, the studies show that when your turn comes to speak about yourself, and it's over, you have no idea about what the person on either side of you said, because you're thinking ahead of what am I going to say when it's my turn, mm-hmm. and you're not listening. If we trust that when the camera is on us, we're able to answer obvious questions or respond to whatever is in our mind normally, we're a lot better off. You see, there's lovely telephone ringing in the background, but I think with luck, my husband will answer that.
You got to improvise a response to that one now.
That's right. I was in the middle of a very important video interview once, and the cuckoo clock went off in the house, and I sort of noticed it and commented on it. And in fact, that turned out to be one of the best parts of the interview, because people noticed I didn't try to blot out things that I didn't want, that weren't part of my image of how this interview ought to go. But I think part of being an improviser is allowing yourself to relax and be natural and respond in any way that seems appropriate. Scripts are hard. I was an actress for a long time, and I know that when you have a script, your job is to try to do that script as perfectly as possible. Okay. But we almost never do. So why not relax and allow our life to be a kind of an unfolding improvisation rather than a script that we execute well or not.
Okay. So what are some fears that you see your students face in your classroom, and how do you teach them to overcome their fears?
Well, I think the number one fear is the fear of looking stupid, okay, or of not having anything to say. There's a natural, a lot of the adults that come to my classes say, well, if I had to stand up, I wouldn't know what to say. There's a sort of an innate fear of that. In fact, there's an old a Buddhist story about the 4 human fears that all humans fear. The first is the fear of death. Mm-hmm. Then there's the fear of loss of reputation. Then there's the fear of loss of income. And the 4th fear is the fear of speaking in public. Mm-hmm. So humans naturally, along with dying, are terrified of being on the spot, of having the spotlight or the camera on them. And we've all probably experienced that. I have too, stage fright, or the sense of white terror where my hands go clammy. It's going to be about me. So the general fear, I think, is not wanting to seem incompetent, not wanting to seem silly. In fact, we imagine if we're improvising, we might do something stupid. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, people do things stupid all the time. So you can't control that, you never will. But what you can control is how you respond if you slip up, or if you cough, or lose your place in the prepared production. Mm-hmm. So it's recovery that is the controllable part. And so we get used to making mistakes so that it's no big deal. It doesn't stop me cold. It's just another thing that might happen when I'm talking or presenting. If I say something that's the wrong information, I can just correct on the fly. So there's this lively sense of trying to follow your own voice, listen. Listening is one of the tools we use really carefully, and paying attention to what's going on, because you need to watch the person you're talking to see if they're still awake or if they're nodding off now. Because as a career teacher, I'm always watching to see who's falling asleep in my class.
Oh, no. That's not good.
And if they are, then I'm not doing my job somehow. That often means we have to try to do something different. Okay, we've been sitting too long, and I've been blah, 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 talking at you, so maybe we need to get up and move around the room or something like that. Okay. So the question is, what are people afraid of? They're afraid of looking silly. I think they're afraid that their ideas are not original. there's this kind of misunderstood idea that innovation is about something no one in the world has ever thought of before. It's something absolutely new. Creativity is thinking outside the box. Well, I think creativity is thinking realistically, sometimes inside the box, but with really clear eyes, so that you're looking at the problem, the facts of the situation, looking at what's there, what your resources are, and trying to be, creativity is pulling together resources in a new and a fresh way. But if you're trying to think of something no one's thinking about, you might be way out in left field. So I'm not a proponent of thinking outside the box. I want you to stay in the box that you're in, the room that you're in, with the people that you're in, and try to keep being very, very awake. It's more, I don't know, like Zen or something. You're really trying to live in this moment now, trusting that whatever you have to say is enough. And not striving after originality. I do think that's a big thing. We don't want to be thought boring or unoriginal, but our unique thumbprint is already original. You're already one of a kind. There's not another Anna. Anna Runyon, exactly like you, right. And you can trust that that's enough.
I love that. The other part of your book that I really enjoyed was when you talked about improvising throughout your daily life. And I always keep a to-do list. So what would be your advice of someone who's constantly keeping their to-do list and not, improvising throughout their daily life?
Well, having a to-do list is not antithetical because when you go to that to-do list, a to-do list is helpful because it doesn't, it keeps you on your purpose. And improvisers have to have a purpose. But once you look at that to-do list and the to-do list says, call Patricia to set up our meeting at 11, then you're improvising. Right now, once you engage yourself in the thing that's on that list, you're in the world of improv. Okay. Because then you need to be awake and alert and not just doing the plan. But I think there's a fallacy of thinking improvisers are whatever, just kind of go with the flow. Yeah. There's a favorite quote in the book that I saw in a Welsh bar that's written in Latin, and the quotation is translated, "Only dead fish go with the flow." So improvising is not just going with the flow, but it's going with the flow with a purpose. And we all need to, and the to-do list is fine because it allows you to keep on purpose. Okay. But once you engage in the interview now, or maybe when we finish this, you'll go to another task, then you're improvising that task. Okay. So they're not different things. It's like improv can help you execute that to-do list more in a more alive way. Okay, good. I want to keep my to-do list, so that's a good thing. Yes. I can keep it. Great. So I get a lot of questions from readers too about presentation skills and how they can improve their presentations. So what would be your advice for them for that? I think the presentation skill, the part of it where improv is helpful, is that the piece that has to do with paying attention. Attention's a really interesting thing. We think we pay attention, but most of the time we're off in our head thinking. Even when we're looking around the room at a meeting, there's part of us that is thinking ahead because our mind has a mind of its own. Mm-hmm. I suggest that to be a better presenter, keep bringing your attention back again and again to the current moment. I mean, there's the word that's fashionable now, mindfulness, which is about really trying to work with the tendency we all have to plan and think ahead and be kind of stirring around in our mind. Mm-hmm. Presenters need to really listen, pay attention, and be willing to follow some kind of impulse they have. I think the other thing that improv teaches here is to trust your own voice. I sometimes have an idea, but as a presenter or answering a question, I'm not sure if it's the right answer, and I get stuck trying to evaluate this in advance. Oh, that might not be right, so I better check it out. The self-doubt that we have as presenters kind of needs to sit on the side of the room. I can't say get rid of it, because I've been teaching and doing this a long time, but I have fears and doubts and wonder if this interview is going to be okay, and does my hair look all right, and oh gosh, I'm so old. What will Anna think of me today? A lot of her classy career girls are so hip. But
they're going to love you.
Well, you have to take that self-doubt as natural, but don't let it get in the way. I think that that would be something I'd really want to tell a young person. Trust your own voice. Trust that what you have to contribute is enough. And as you grow in your life and you get more experience, you'll have more and more experience to contribute. But right now, not later when you get that raise or when you finished your degree or whatever, right now, what you have to contribute is good enough. And that it's different from feeling self-confident. I think it's more a reality confidence. It's not that I am perfect, but that I'm okay, I'm enough. And if I really listen, pay attention, and use my own resources, that's my best way to contribute.
Okay. So this last question, you may have just answered it, but we'll see if you have something else to add, is what is one thing you wish you would have known as a young professional woman just starting out in her career?
It's a great question. I think the one thing I really, really wish I'd known is to wear comfortable shoes. I'm serious. When I was young, I wore fashion shoes, and back in the 50s, they were very, very pointy toes with high heels like today, and I ruined my feet and got bunions. And so now as an old woman, I'm hobbling around in orthotics and shoes just to keep me going. So I think seriously, don't let fashion, which is okay, never, for the sake of fashion, wear shoes that hurt, and that would be an important thing. It sounds kind of glib, but it really, if I had known that when I was 20, I wouldn't have worn those shoes that ruined my feet and gave me bunions. So it's not worth it. There are plenty of nice-looking shoes that really are comfortable, so go for comfort, girls. No. That would be one thing. And the other thing I did just say is trust your own voice.
Okay. I love your shoe advice. I love it. It's very true. It's very true, because you are up and down and walking around on your job a lot. So I have my work shoes and my after work shoes. So
yeah.
Definitely.
Well, even you might find some after-work shoes that are smart, but that are really comfortable. It took me a long time, but there are some. So go to your best shoe store and say, look, I've got to have shoes that, even if they've got heels, really feel great.
Yes, definitely. It can make your whole outfit look better, too, if you feel better about yourself and what you're wearing, and if your shoes hurt and if your feet hurt, then...
Yeah. I should see a lot of women today in these very high heels that look to me, while their legs are very shapely, they look sharp. I worry about them falling over. So you want to be able to live life, and comfortable shoes will be a good part of that.
Okay, awesome. So where can people find out more about you and your book online?
Great. Well, the word to remember is the name of the book, Improv Wisdom. Improv Wisdom. If you can remember those two words, that's also my website, improvwisdom.com. And the website could lead you to contact information for me. I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and I have a blog. And all of those links are on the improvwisdom.com website. And
okay. And I'll make sure and link to them as well in my post. So.
Right. And I shameless plug, but I think the book I've found, a lot of people seem to think that it's been really helpful advice. A lot of sort of self-help books, we don't have time to read them in our busy lives, but Improv Wisdom is pretty short, pretty simple ideas, and you might just find something that could be an answer to something you're looking at. So I encourage you. It's also an audio book, a Kindle ebook. You can download it for, it's very inexpensive and easy to read. So I hope you'll take a look at the book.
Yeah, and that's where I found out about you too. I happened to find it at the library, and I did a blog post about the book and how much I liked it, and I remember you commented on it too. So that's how we connected. So
great,
okay.
Super.
Definitely. So thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you, Anna. It's just been a pleasure. Good. And good luck to all your Classy Career Girls.
Thank you. This is Anna Runyon from ClassyCareerGirl.com.